Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Erase Domestic Violence Show. Yes, friends, Let's Erase Domestic Violence Show is here to bring a success story of a person who has come out of some violence and leading a successful life now. Today, we are reaching out in London to Nina Aouilk. Nina Aouilk is a well known mindset coach, professional speaker, TEDx speaker, and an author too who helps people to find their power and discover their passion so that they can create the life of their dreams. She coaches high performing and high achieving men and women to maximize their potential so that they can achieve success and happiness in all the areas of professional and private lives. But she's better known as an activist, working with victims of gender based violence and domestic abuse. End Honor Killing ORG was created by a mother and daughter team who were aware that millions of young women and girls were suffering across the world from gender based violence and cultural crimes. The nonprofit has a key objective to help those suffering in silence and to aid them with routes and means to escape life threatening situations. So, welcome, Nina, to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me today.
We'd love to hear from you, Nina. Please share first about yourself as a professional and as a person.
Sure. So I'm a mother of three. The biggest gifts I have are my three
Mm.
stars, as I call them. I live in London and I'm a mindset coach for quite some elite fighters, boxers, some sports people. But I also coach every 6 weeks victims and survivors of domestic violence,
Okay.
victims of honor-based killings or attempted honor-based killings, because culturally, there's a lot of people in my culture that are born as girls into a culture that don't really receive them very well. Or there's that gender-based discrimination and violence that comes across from parents because domestic violence is also violence from parents and brothers and siblings. It's not
Yes.
just partners, and people misinterpret that sometimes. So if it starts quite young, then you tend to believe that's what you're supposed to have in your life. You don't understand that you're worth so much more.
Okay.
And that's what I do every 6 weeks. We help these ladies and men. My doors are open to everyone that's suffered because often men suffer too, especially in our culture. They're forced to do things they don't necessarily want to. So my doors are open, like I said, to everybody. Every 6 weeks, people come along. We talk about how they can start again if they're scared to leave a marriage, because a lot of women stay in relationships because they think they won't be able to put a roof over their heads and don't know how they can go forward mentally too. So there's a lot to think about because we're always told a man is the person who provides.
Correct.
Even if we are providing, we still have in our heads that actually we need that person because it's got to be a man and a woman and then the children. We can't do it on our own. And a lot of the time we think if we leave, we'll be killed because we've had threats made upon us. But we don't see that when we're in a relationship, we are actually at threat of being killed and taking a beating, the mental abuse, and often the threats keep us in almost like a cage that we start to deteriorate, and our children also suffer from that, and we don't realize it. Many women will say, well, I stayed because of the children, and I myself did the same thing, but it takes a huge effect on them that we don't always know. So, by having this non-profit now called endhonorkillings.org, originally it was really based for gender-based violence and people that have suffered from honor killing attempts, such as myself, for them to understand that an honor killing doesn't hold any honor, that the honor is not, within that killing or the attempted killing, and the shame and the izzat, as they call it, is really upon those people that are doing these crimes. It's just another word for an attempted murder. And it sounds so much more serious when you say that, but that's all it is. So I wanted to stop forced marriages, child marriages. I am stopping them. I'm doing my best. And we have a lot of girls that have been sexually abused by family members in our culture. We don't talk about this. So I'm saying to them, it's okay to talk about. There's no taboo. Actually, the shame should be on the person that did that to you, not on you. But a lot of these girls have gone to their mothers or sisters or aunties and asked for help. and they've been told to stay quiet because, you know, the aunties and the mothers don't really know themselves what to do. So they hush and they shrink that problem, but they allow the um, I want to say perpetrator because that's the word we use in England, but really it's a criminal.
Correct.
The criminal to keep doing these bad acts on a very young child or a woman or a daughter-in-law. And domestic violence also in our culture, and cultures like it, there's a lot of domestic violence from in-laws, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, where they really attack you on a personal level. My mother-in-law used to throw my whole plate of food into the dustbin and then make me eat out of the dustbin. And it used to make me feel very small. And in the end, I stopped eating. I developed an eating problem because I felt I didn't deserve to eat. But they belittle you to a point where it doesn't make any sense because they want their sons to be married. They bring you into the house, but then they treat you in such a disrespectful way. So I'm trying to educate, and I am educating slowly but surely women to say, you know, it's not okay to have to deal with these things. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable going past your father-in-law without him touching or making inappropriate gestures because they do. You know, you shouldn't be scared of your brothers that they're going to attack you or hit you if you are wearing your hair down or if you have a low cut top. You know, you're entitled to represent yourself the way you want to. But we believe everything we're told from a young age. And I think that's why a lot of people will put up with domestic violence longer than the outside world. And then the outside world says, well, why did you stay? Why didn't you leave? Because they don't understand how difficult it is to ask for help.
Hats off, Nina, for your courage and for the wonderful work you're doing in helping out other women who are facing such situation. And take a note, friends, if you have anybody in your network, please reach out to Nina, and she's there to help and guide. And life is just not stopping here. It's a beautiful life which everybody has right to live the way she wants. So do
Mm.
take out, we will share the details about contact details about Nina. Do share in your network and help other women or girls who are suffering in silence. So, Nina, tell us more. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when you first decided to leave your abusive situation?
So I escaped an honor killing when I was 21. Um, it sounds impossible because they'd broken my jaw, my arm, and when I fell down, they stamped on me and broke my hip. So there was a lot of injuries, physical injuries, and mentally, I was very scared, you know, frightened as a young girl. And one of the hardest things was to get over this 6 foot wall. I'd managed to crawl like a baby, you know, to the door, to the kitchen. And then when I got out into the garden, there was this huge wall facing me. And that fear was making me say, just give up, just give up. They're going to send you to India because they were going to send me to India to kill me. And I thought, just give up. What's the point? But there was a little voice, a very small voice saying, why? Why don't you just keep going? And often we have to talk to ourselves and we have to say, we've got this, Nina, you've got this, you can do this. And that's what helped me. When I became homeless 6 years ago because of domestic violence to somebody I ended up with, it wasn't love, it wasn't a proper relationship. We didn't date, we didn't go out for meals and fell madly in love like you'd think it, you know, on the Bollywood films or on the Hollywood films. It wasn't
Right.
like that. I was running away from one situation. I was vulnerable, and people take advantage of you, but we don't think we deserve any better. So with
Correct.
that, I ended up with somebody who I thought was helping, but he wasn't. Right from the beginning, I knew he wasn't. But you know what? I didn't deserve anything. I didn't have anyone else. I couldn't go to my family. It was somebody who was better than nobody. And, you know, my family have taught me if you have a child, you stay there. It doesn't matter how the child's born, you stay in that house. So, for the sake of this pretend family that I was creating, I stayed for 23 years, which is a long time
It's a long
of putting up
time.
with physical abuse, mental abuse, some really serious things like he set my pillow on fire. I didn't question things, but when I
Right.
did question them, he said that he wanted to end it all. But the only person he was trying to end was me. And if you've ever smelt, if you've used a hairdryer and you've got your hair stuck in the hairdryer, there's a really weird smell and it's burning hair. And once he set my hair on fire because I was asleep, And that smell, it's a very distinctive smell. But then I should have said to myself, you're not safe and your children are not safe, but your mind is so blinded by
Correct.
what your parents have taught you from the day you're born that you're not worth anything. Who are you? Who's going to believe you? You can go out there, you can't do it. You don't deserve anyone. You're lucky you have me. And I believed all of these things, that I was fat, I was ugly, that I didn't belong anywhere, that I had nobody, my family had turned their back on me. So I stayed. And when I left 6 years ago, I became homeless. But it was actually in that moment of real tragedy, almost, I want to call it, that I discovered freedom in a way that I never thought freedom existed. I managed to get myself a place. I had to move a far away from my family and my ex-partner because of domestic violence, and the police here don't protect you as much as they should.
Correct.
So they said to me, the easiest solution is for you to go far. And it's difficult because this is all I've ever known. It's the area I've raised myself. My mum and dad lived nearby. They didn't speak, but that's all I ever knew. And it feels hard to take a step. But that change creates a new life, and we don't see this. But if we can be brave enough and say, okay, I have to go because I'm being forced to go. I don't want to go, but let's just see what happens. I could have gone back, but I've never wanted to, because there's nothing there in the back. There's nothing in my past or
Definitely.
in where I used to live. There's only things going forward. So you can't go backwards realistically. The only way you can go is forward. So make a conscious decision to make a change in your life that's going to help you to feel safe. Because when you leave a situation, you don't feel safe. And I'm in a place which is completely far away from my parents, my ex-partner, everybody that I ever knew. And now I feel safe. Now I feel I can speak clearly and openly. And I feel like I get to decide who I am, not my parents telling me I'm a good for nothing girl, that a daughter like me shouldn't be born to anybody, that I'm useless, that, I get to decide, am I useless? No. All of those things they did to me, I get to use as my education. I didn't have a degree, I wasn't allowed to study. Everything my ex-partner, the way he beat me, the way he spoke to me, I get to use all of that, almost like a little dictionary, a textbook, so that when somebody comes forward and says to me, Nina, my partner said to me that I'm good for nothing, that I can't be anything, that I'm stupid, I can say, yes, that's what I was told. But you know what? How do you feel about yourself? Do you think you're really stupid? You get to question things, whereas before you don't question anything. You accept it, you take it, and you hold it here, and you hold it here. And letting go comes from self-love. And a
Correct.
lot of people throw this word everywhere, and they say, oh, you know what? I practice self-care. I get my nails done, I get my hair done. But that's just a bit of a disguise, because on the outside, we can look beautiful to the world,
Very true.
but we will never feel beautiful to ourselves. We can curl our hair, we can put our makeup on, but
Correct.
internally, if you're feeling like rubbish, that's how you will be seen on the outside too. It doesn't make a difference. So this mask that you're wearing, people see straight through it. And the problem you have with not loving yourself internally is you can't help anyone. You can't even love your children the way they deserve to be loved. So when you
True.
come to terms with who you are inside, I decided I was beautiful. I decided I was love, because my father had never taught me to ride a bike. But what he had taught me is to come down my room every day when I was 6 years old and cook for them and give them this food which was made with love. My mum doesn't like as much salt. I won't put as much in hers. I'll put some in my father's. My brother's like a little bit more dry, so I'll make it a bit more dry. And everybody's dish was made always very quickly, but made with love.
Wow.
And the times that I wasn't included in the family, I would sit with my ear to the door and I would listen, and I would say, okay, I'll pretend I'm sitting with them. And I imagined myself playing with my brothers, but I didn't have that as a child, but I still loved them. And regardless of what anybody has done to you in your life, including my ex-partner, the best thing you can do is to forgive them, but never forget, because forgetting means that you will repeat that mistake. But forgiving them means that you say, okay, They did what they thought was the right thing. It's not the right thing. I'm not condoning that behavior. I know it's wrong. But if they'd known better, would they have done it? Probably not. Did I deserve it? No. You don't deserve it too. Nobody deserves it. So just allowing it to go takes this almost rucksack that we're carrying that's heavy, 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 heavy. And we take this rucksack off, and suddenly we feel really light and tall and actually really brave. And I love every wrong thing about myself. Rather than trying to correct it, I've decided I'm going to love it. I went to the gym this morning because everyone called me fat. So I sometimes feel, am I fat? But you know what? I went to the gym not because of them, because I want to be healthy,
Right.
because I want to feel better, because I'm getting older. I want to be here for my children. And I'm not where I want to be yet. So instead of saying to yourself, I don't feel good about myself, say, I don't feel good about myself yet. But you have to, again, going back to that change, do something to bring that change. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. It stays the same. As they say, nothing changes if nothing changes. So
Beautiful.
take small steps and don't hold on to what not anybody has ever told you that's negative.
Beautiful. So here we are having a confident Nina who is much more aware about herself. And that only happened because she heard to that little whisper, which everybody is having inside. And once you start listening to your inner calling, your inner voice, I think you get clarity in life and you know which journey you have to take. Friends, take a note of this. Start thinking positive about yourself. Self love, self care is just not polishing yourself from outside. You have to be aware how you're feeling inside and you have to be confident about yourself. So she's an inspiration to you all and learn from her and do reach out to her if you want any further guidance. So, Nina, can you share? Do you received any support or resources you want to mention that helped you in your journey for your healing and recovery?
Not really, no. I went to a lot of charities when I first became homeless from the domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them just tick boxes. They're not really interested in you. And I'm being honest, I'm a very honest, raw person.
Please go ahead.
I started my charity because I was tired of people not listening to me, people not caring. And when I discovered self-love, my amount of self-love that I had was up here because I had so much love from before without knowing it as a child. I was loving unconditionally and it was growing and growing and growing. So what I decided to do was to say to people, come to me. But what I would advise anybody is that when you do get to a point where you accept all of the bad things about you and say it's okay, this is part of who I am, but what can I do going forward to make myself the way I want to be? You become so full of self-love, which builds freedom, which builds confidence, which builds all of the above. But you're able to give it freely to everybody else. Now I feel like I'm this walking love letter. And when you read the letter I've written for you, you'll read it and you'll say those words out loud and you'll feel them in yourself. So anybody listening can do this to yourselves. Start with having two notebooks.
Okay.
One of the notebooks you write down all your negatives, anything that anyone's ever said to you,
Mm-hmm.
or anything you feel about yourself that you don't like, and you never read it again. So that page is gone and you don't read it. Then you have another notebook and you write in, my hair was shiny today, my teeth look good today, I smiled at 3 people today and they
It's
smiled
just like a
back.
gratitude journal, right? Something.
It's like a gratitude journal, but it also enables you to let go of the bad things
Correct.
because
Yeah.
we hold things on. And sometimes I've spoken to even my daughter or sons, sometimes I've spoken to them and they said, well, oh, I didn't get enough done today. And we beat ourselves up because we have a long, long list and we keep adding things to the list and we don't get it all done. And then we say, oh, I didn't get this done. I didn't get this done. I didn't go and take the clothes to the dry cleaners. I didn't manage to go to the gym. I didn't manage to finish my assignment. But what we're not saying is,
What we did.
I'm, yes, we did this, I did this, and I did that. We forget about what we are achieving. So, give yourselves a break because that's what you need to do. And if you're suffering from domestic violence right now and you're not recognizing that it's something that's not going to go away, please learn from my mistake that I thought it would stop or it would get better, that it just gets worse. At the beginning, it just started with verbal abuse, which is heavy. Verbal abuse really destroys your mind. but then it developed into physical abuse, money manipulation. You can't spend, control. Where are you? I want to know where you are and who you're going to see. And that double standard, I can do whatever I want, but you can't do anything because you're just you. So please be mindful, because often we know ourselves what we deserve. We often know ourselves what is wrong and right, but we ignore it. And I want everyone out there to live a life that I'm living, which is why I started my nonprofit, which is why I've done 100 talks all around the world, on podcasts, on videos. This is my 101. Um,
Oh,
because I was trying to give a message to people that need to hear it, survivors, victims, and also to create awareness for people that may be the people that are doing these horrible things to others, to see how they affect women, how they affect children, how they affect families. So to try and make them aware, but also if you know somebody like you mentioned earlier, if you know somebody like Shari said, then you can do something. You can be their light that they need. Just that small word that you can say to them is something that could change their lives. And, we all should be of service to each other. We should all share love. This world doesn't have enough love. So if you can
very true.
spread a little, we'll make it a lot better for everyone.
A beautiful share, Nina. And I so much believe that we all are connected globally. Every woman, whether she's from some other country or some other part of the world, we all are same, having same challenges. And it is our duty to help each other and support each other. So this way we can really create a safe umbrella. If I strongly believe if women get under one umbrella, we can make this planet a much better place to live. So, friends,
Definitely.
do take a note and don't let your network suffer in silence. If you know or you yourself are suffering, come out of it. And there are people like Nina who are ready to help you. So, Nina, you want to highlight about your coaching services, who can take your services and what benefit the person will get and how to approach you.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me quite easily everywhere because I am everywhere. I'm holding a class that's coming up tomorrow, actually, if anybody's interested in going viral. One of my videos has gone over 20 million views in less than 4 weeks. And
Congratulations.
I want to tell people that you don't have to pay someone to help you with your social media. You don't have to pay to have these bots or AI. You can do it genuinely, because when you do it genuinely, you're more authentic and you're more believable. You don't have to do anything but be yourself. But there are things I wish I had known before I got to number 97th video that I would have done earlier had I've known that. So if anybody's interested, you can find that on my LinkedIn or whichever social media you find me. But the last thing I want to leave you with from my point is that if you are being forced out of the country, because it happens a lot in England, happens a lot in different countries, there are signs that you can use which are quite commonly known, which are your hand out. You put your thumb in, which means you're trapped, and then you bring your thumb down. And if you do that to a security guard or somebody even in a bar or restaurant, they should know that you're in trouble. The other thing is if you're being forced out of the country, because my sister was trafficked by our father, she was sold to traffickers when she was 6. The
Okay.
reason, yeah, she was sold to traffickers by my father, and I'm still looking for her, unfortunately, but I'm holding hope. But what I'm trying to do is say to other girls, because they're all my sisters, they're all my, they're all me effectively. Try and put something metal into your pocket. It could be a coin, it could be something like a key ring, something that your parents or whoever's forcing you out of the country won't see, and it will set off the metal detectors when you go through security. Make sure it's not something that's going to fall out, because you'll get caught. But when you do get caught by security and they say there's something metal, say help. Please do that, because you have to be brave in that moment. And it's scary. It's going to be so scary. But that's your gateway to freedom. That's your gateway to a life that you should be living. So I'm going to say really humbly, just please do that for you, because you deserve it.
Thanks so much for sharing this. And this is certainly, this has to be shared by around the world because it can be done easily and it can help so many. So, friends, please do share with the network that how you can show others that you are trapped or you need help. And there are so many ways you can show that. So, my last question, Nina, share your message with the Womenlines audience.
My message is just that know that you are loved. That if you've never been told you're loved by a parent, by a partner, or you haven't ever felt loved yourself, know that I hold love for you. I know Sharu does too. know that you deserve the best life that you can have, and be brave. Do something to change your life for the better today.
Thank you so much for such a beautiful share, Nina. I wish you all the best for your journey. And friends, do share this interview in your network so that it reaches out to as many and can help, might be a help to somebody who needs this to hear. Take care. Thank you.